Okay, so welcome everyone to another episode of the Nashville Network Alliance, where we collaborate to help Nashville's community share their expertise and connect with one another to make our city a better place. Today's episode, titled From Culture to Cure, will take us through the inspiring journey of a first-generation scholar who's paving the way in both biocompatible skincare and the future cancer research. Today, we're going to dive into how cultural identity has shaped her academic path, the unique challenges she's faced as a first-gen student, and her passion for health equity. Our guest today is a first-generation Ethiopian American, an aspiring skin and cancer researcher, and the founder of Align Beauty Skincare. Her dedication to cancer research stems from a deeply personal and cultural connection, and she's on a mission to improve health outcomes for underrepresented communities. Without further ado, please join me in welcoming the brilliant and inspiring Faben Zeleke.
Oh, that's so sweet. Thank you. Thank you, Marina.
Thank you for being here. It really means a lot.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm super excited to talk a little bit about myself and hopefully inspire someone or can, you know, help someone out.
Well, I definitely think this conversation is going to be super productive, and I have a few questions to just start us off. So you're Ethiopian, right? So were you born in Ethiopia or did your parents immigrate?
Yeah, so my parents, they immigrated to America. What's interesting is my dad, he came as a refugee, and my mom, she actually came from a really nice, privileged background, but when she came to America, it was kind of like it was like a lottery situation. So I'm the first of my parents, so I'm the guinea pig.
Mhm.
I'm the oldest of three, it's four of us all together. I have three younger siblings, and I was born in the DC area, and I grew up in Northern Virginia around the DC area. But since my parents were both working, my grandmother, my dad's mom, she stayed in the house, and my first language was actually Amharic. I didn't even speak English. So
I would say, but I mean, your English is so, I mean, I know because obviously you grew up here, but like your vocabulary is so like perfect. So
thank
good
you.
job. So you said, so your grandma was like a big part of your childhood, like she was teaching you Amharic and like watching TV with you and like the music and stuff. So it was still very like prevalent in your household, right?
Yes, ma'am. So it was pretty prevalent until I got into grade school. So I think I did the pre-K thing. So up until about I was 4 years old, I was speaking Amharic only, because again, I'm only around the Ethiopian influences within my household.
Mhm.
But when I went into school, I started learning, of course, English and then acclimating myself to the American culture as a 4-year-old. And um, eventually, what happened is that although I'm very close within my community and my culture, I kind of I've kind of lost my Amharic. I hear it very well, and I need to learn it because it's super important, knowing your native language, your native tongue. But I'm still very much connected to my Ethiopian roots. But it is interesting as an Ethiopian American, and I feel like a lot of people uh, who grew up kind of like in the same way understand how I feel because it's hard. Your parents are trying to learn from you like English, and I'm
Yeah.
trying to acclimate, yeah, two different cultures at the same time, two very different cultures as well.
Yeah, especially when you're the oldest, because you're like paving the way for your siblings. Like when you
That's,
said you're the guinea pig, like you're the first person to go to school, you're the first person to go to college, apply for scholarships. So like
mhm.
the same thing happened with me. It's not easy, but I do feel like there's like a lot of pros. Like it does teach you like leadership and how to be like a flexible person. I think it does like a lot of good things as well because I feel like a lot of us talk about like how difficult it is, but there's
Yeah.
actually so much pros like underlying pros as well. But you said you grew up in the DC area and we actually have some viewers who also are like they've lived in DC. So how was it growing up in DC versus Nashville?
So growing up in DC, one, there's a huge Ethiopian community out there. And on top of that, it's very diverse. I'm very happy that, just the way my parents set up my our lives, that I was able to grow up in a very diverse area. It made me, but it also had very strong connections to the Ethiopian culture. So I was able to, again, experience my culture within America, but also I was able to be exposed to a lot of different cultures, a lot of different, even religions and just backgrounds. And it made me, I feel like, more flexible and adaptable and more understanding of other perspectives and differences.
Yeah, same. I feel like when you grow up foreign, like just because you're from another country, especially that country, having other people living within that country, like I'm from Egypt, for example, we had Ethiopians living in Egypt, we had Somalians, Sudanese, and then you come to America and you realize like we're not that different. I mean, there's differences, but like we all connect on some aspects, and I think that's like exactly what you said. Like it helps you become more open-minded when you're interacting with other people and you have other conversations. So wait, so your prep, like if you had to choose, where did you like living more, DC or Nashville?
Oh, DC.
Really? I mean, the traffic and like the park, I know the parking is like what a lot of people say is like the worst part.
It is. It's pretty bad. But I will say this. I do like living in the Nashville area because although Nashville, yeah, it's a fun city, it definitely can allow you to slow down. And that's the reason why I actually moved down here. So my parents, they bought a house and they decided to move down here. It's a lot more affordable. It's a lot more family friendly. And I was actually out of school for a couple of years after high school. And I decided, hey, I want to be a doctor. I can't be a doctor and not go to school. So I actually moved down here, and I will say, making that move has helped me to be where I'm at and to make me more focused into what I want to do, which is the cancer research, which is the health disparities. So I will say Nashville is a great place for young people to kind of restart and revamp. There's so many great programs out here to get accessible and affordable schooling or education. They
Yeah.
have great programs, not just for colleges, but for high school students to get their associates while they're in high school. So there are programs here that I will say are extremely beneficial,
Yeah.
and Nashville area definitely has helped me breed the scientist that I am now. So I'm very grateful for Nashville.
So speaking of school, how was it growing up as a first generation? I mean, like I know you talked about a little bit about how you had to acclimate into the culture, but like in an academic setting, how was that growing up?
In an academic setting, I think I will say that I I did well enough to, pass, but it definitely felt like at times I wasn't aligned with my peers at the level of um yeah, at the level of let's say science, or just even just a level of understanding. Like
Mhm.
for me, I struggled a lot with math, and I'm the again the first generation student. So my parents didn't exactly go through the same schooling that I did because they grew up in Ethiopia. They went to school in Ethiopia. It's totally different. So I had to really like figure out a lot of things for myself. And although it was rewarding, now I'm very, I can persevere, I'm resilient. It was challenging at times because I felt like I was doing this all by myself and I'm all alone. So,
Yeah. No,
yeah,
it's something that I feel like no one is gonna understand except unless you are in the position yourself.
yeah.
Just like your parents not knowing what you're doing or like anything about your career choice, really. They're just like cheering you on, but they can't give you a lot of advice. So, yeah, that's super relatable. But talk about how your cultural background has influenced your academic path, if it did.
Yeah, absolutely. So I actually took a moment to really think about, okay, what in regards to my Ethiopian heritage was a big driving force or influence. And I realized it was my faith and my cultural pride. So Ethiopia's, it's like half Orthodox, half Muslim, and then you have a a good amount of Jewish community out there. So I grew up in the Orthodox faith. My dad really like instilled that within us. And as a person, as someone who is a Christian and trying to involve my faith with my work, I realized that the my faith plays a role because it gives me a purpose with what I'm trying to do. I think about how, yeah, this is a great field and we love innovation, but at the end of the day, I want to be part of the team of people that really want to make a better world and just have people have options. That's really
Yeah,
what it is.
that's so beautiful. So when you say, you know, your career, so what is the career you're aspiring?
Yeah.
Exactly.
Oh, yeah. So I should probably explain that. So I'm studying biology, and what I would like to do is eventually get my PhD in cancer biology, and I want to become a cancer research scientist. I
Yeah.
would ideally like to work in industry, but I'm open to seeing where the wind takes me as I go through my academic journey.
Mhm.
And really, what I would like to do is develop targeted therapies for honestly marginalized communities. There's a
Yeah.
big gap in cancer research in regards to the African American, even
Mhm.
just the African, just there's a lot of innovation that could be placed in the marginalized communities, and I would like to be a part of that.
Yeah, absolutely. I didn't know how much our communities were in disparity until like I got my master's in pharmacology, and there's like medications that are not tested or used on um different racial groups, and the way that we realized like these are not the best medications is people were like fainting and coming to us for like just these things that like adverse effects that didn't make sense. They did not match the adverse effects that we had seen in other populations. Like for example, we have ACE inhibitors and angiotensin receptor blockers, and those are the most common blood pressure medications given for people with high blood pressure. And for some reason, we just realized that ACE inhibitors were not working well in Hispanic and African like ethnicities, like anywhere in the diaspora. So people, the way that we realized is just people were fainting from it. It's called orthostatic hypotension, and people were just fainting. And then we started using these receptor blockers instead, angiotensin receptor blockers, and no side effects. And the like people think, oh, like it's just adverse effects, but yeah, that could have killed someone. And the reason for that is because of the disparities. We don't take into account in research a lot of these different like communities. So that's definitely something that I feel like you'd be great at. Like we need that, and that's exactly what we need in healthcare.
Absolutely. Yeah, I mean, you hit it right in the nail. I And the fact that I know in clinical trials now they're including diversification, but before when they were testing out different medications, I think like I don't want to butcher and say aspirin, but there are medications that when in the clinical trial phases, they did not include African American or just different different backgrounds, different ethnicities and whatnot, which is important because and now as we learn with science and with the innovation through genetics and all that, that not everything is metabolized the same. So
Exactly.
yeah,
Not everyone has the same genetics or enzymes that act the same way. But
yeah,
I'm wondering more like because I'm currently doing research in specifically with African Americans, and I'm wondering how could we start like recruiting them or helping them, help us to help them in the future if we have so much, history that has broken their trust, like Tuskegee, for example.
absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, what do you think, like, what is the best course of action in that?
So I think about, of course, what would I like if I was someone who didn't trust exactly the healthcare system, maybe I didn't like going to hospitals. I'm personally not like that, but I know, like you mentioned, Tuskegee experiments and all that stuff. Like, um, we would really need to have more scientists, more medical professionals that one look like us. It's wonderful that STEM is being diversified, and there's so many people of color, especially African American women, who are really stepping into the STEM field within medicine and all that.
Yeah.
But we really would need to have more people who
Yeah.
look like the patients who are scared
Exactly.
and just,
100%.
yeah,
Like diversifying healthcare is not just things to put on paper. Like institutions and organizations that want to diversify their workplace need to understand that in the long run, like that is what is gonna help like our communities. It's not just about having this certain amount of people that
yeah,
are diverse and that's it. No, like it does like help health outcomes, and we've seen it in research. It helps health outcomes when people have people that represent them. So that's I love that you're also interested in that because there's not a lot of people that think like that. They think it's just exaggeration or something, but that's what the research shows. And so I'm glad that you're also like that's also your goal. So let's move on and start talking about skincare. So you have, from my understanding, which I didn't even know about this until I started reaching out to you, but the Align Beauty Skincare. So is that your skincare brand? Like you've created that, or is there other people involved in it? And what is it? What are you doing?
I would love to share with you that. So this is my skincare brand. I would love someone else to help me out. So if you're interested in skincare and formulating cosmetics, hit me up. But so I created Align Beauty Skincare about 2020, and essentially for from age 16 to 25, I wanted to be a dermatologist. I actually it wasn't even interested in cancer research. Well, I really didn't know too much about it, but I was gung-ho on being a dermatologist. And so while I was in my, what is it, my first year of college in the Nashville area, I was like, what can I do to like keep me focused? Like I know I'm just only in my first year of college and I was in community college, so I didn't really feel like I was doing enough. But that's not true. Community college is still a great way of getting your education. Anyway, so I was like, okay, I want to stay focused on becoming a dermatologist. I want to like diversify my skills. So I kind of looked at what I actually could do, and I realized I was always into skincare. I used to mix up concoctions in the kitchen and put it on
Yeah.
my face.
And our parents did that too. Like I definitely think it's an African thing because they're like, we can make that at home and
Yeah.
the turmeric and I don't know. My mom, she does her own things, but like it's like in our blood or something because like that's what our parents did, like to make their own products. And they work. They're amazing.
Oh yeah, they did work. I remember there was like an egg mask I looked up on YouTube, and I swear my skin was looking sweet the next day.
Exactly.
Yeah, so with that, I decided I wanted to start a skincare line. I was like, I already mix up so many concoctions in my house. I already like have a regimen of like my natural hair care routine, my natural skincare routine. So I decided to actually invest by going to manufacturing websites, and really well they manufacture ingredients, and it was like high quality ingredients. And what I did was I bought some stuff. I found like my YouTube guru who essentially she her name is Tara Lee, and she formulates skincare products, and she formulated biocompatible skincare products. So which means essentially is that the skincare product would be formulated to work harmoniously with your skin, and it's clean and safe ingredients, and it will actually help improve your skin's like health and overall look over time.
Mhm.
um, so I wanted to do something like that, so I created Align Beauty Skincare, and it took some trial and error with skincare. It's like an experiment. You have to
Yeah.
keep going and going and going, and then something happens. And so with that, I was able to honestly start an entrepreneurial spirit of mine. And
Yeah.
I created a couple of different products that actually really worked. It took me a while, but I formulated it, and I created this hydrating hibiscus and hyaluronic acid serum. So the hyaluronic acid is a natural component that is found in our skin, and it helps with making your skin look plump, and it actually amplifies the moisture content in your skin. So it makes you look snatched, but it is.
I can tell. You don't even have to tell me. I can see it by your skin. Like it's so beautiful,
Thank
clear,
you.
shiny. I'm gonna have to buy that mask you're talking about.
You know what? I'll go ahead and give you a sample trial so you can buy it.
Thank you.
Yeah, and then yeah, so doing stuff like that, like formulating skincare products, it can be difficult, I will say that, especially when I'm using my room and I convert it into a lab. But long story short, I was able to find it really interesting. And the reason why I did is because I wanted to create something that is actually healthy, no toxins, no extra stuff.
So are you saying that some of the products out there, like for example, CeraVe or La Roche-Posay, I don't know exactly how to say it,
I
but
don't know how to say it either.
you think some of their like even though it could be helpful for taking away acne, there can be some underlying problems that it can also cause?
What I will say is this. I don't know if I don't want to call out any particular brand because I didn't do the research. I was just kind of doing my own thing.
Mhm.
But what I have learned and noticed is that a lot of these awesome skincare brands get bought up by these huge companies, and
Mhm.
that they kind of shortchange the ingredient quality, and
Mhm.
it can be toxic.
Yeah.
And for example, like I believe one of the rosemary hair growth oil by
My,
Marielle.
yeah, I saw
by-
that it had like cancer causing agents. I've used it and I thought it was great. I was so surprised because we like at least like in like Egyptian culture, we always use oils. Like
yeah,
growing up, I always used like we use like Moroccan oil, olive oil, like castor oil for like hair growth when we were kids. Like my mom would put that into our hair. So I was like, oh, it's just like another oil. And I bought it and it worked great. I was so shocked to see that it did cause it had cancer causing agents.
yeah, that's crazy. Like for some people, again, it affects other people differently. I noticed that for me, I can take whatever with my skin. I guess my skin's tough, but not everyone is like that. And
Mhm.
so even me wanting to create a skincare line, I remember a friend of mine at the time had a really sensitive skin. And I was like, man, I have to consider that when my formulations, even though I have like I guess tough skin,
Mhm.
can take anything. I would want to consider everybody. I would want it to be inclusive. So now I will say I did take a pause on that because of being full-time student, full-time working, trying to do research. It's a lot.
Yeah, of course. No, I mean, just the fact that I did not know that because that just made me even more impressed by you, like truly,
Yeah.
because I love skincare so my question now is, what made you go from wanting to become a dermatologist to formulating your own products? Like, is it just because you feel like you can make more of an impact that way, or what exactly drove you to consider more of the industrial side or your own
Mhm.
business?
I think I just wanted to I think it's like the natural scientist curiosity in me. Like I really like had a vision in my head. Like I had the vision in my head and I just wanted to bring it to life. And not just the vision of the aesthetics of the product, but the actual quality of the product and whatnot. I really just wanted to bring my ideas to life. That's really what it was. And keep the focus when I wanted to be a dermatologist to like really staying on focus with the trends and what's going on in the skincare world because it's always changing.
Mhm.
But now, as someone who isn't necessarily going to go into dermatology, I'm still interested in skin cancer research. So maybe I could create a biocompatible product that could be like a preventative. So yeah.
Because there's this like back and forth and I've seen this like with the skin scientists communities talking about like I think it was benzene that was like found in a lot of sunscreens because sunscreen's super important. It's a cancer preventative, but if you have benzene in your products, that means like are you actually preventing cancer? Because now you might be causing a different type of cancer, not skin cancer,
Yeah.
a different type of cancer. So Yeah, we definitely need a lot. We need more scientists to consider like also like the overall health of the person, not just their skin, but like
Yeah.
physiological
Yeah.
overall health.
It's our largest organ in our body. We got to take care of it, you know?
Exactly.
Mhm.
So how do you envision biocompatible skincare evolving? Do you think that people are becoming more aware of what's in their products?
I think naturally people are just becoming more and more health conscious because of one, the spreading of information, people always have think pieces online, which I love at times because it really opens up dialogue. As healthcare and beauty continues to emerge, I think biocompatible skincare will be more personalized in the future. Advances in biotechnology and again, scientific innovation always happening can allow us to have more tailored products, I think, in the future. Now, I know that'll be probably cost a little costly before,
Yeah.
it comes down. But just like anything else, like just like how we're developing targeted therapies, we'll probably have more targeted, even like beauty regimens and therapies and stuff too. I
We,
think
we can,
also,
sorry, go ahead. I was just gonna mention like curology, like for example, I've noticed that has been,
oh
more
yeah.
popular because they do specific like regimens for your skincare. Like those types of things are much newer to the industry.
Yeah. But I think, again, it's innovation that's happening. This will allow one, the person to feel like this is more special when it comes to their skincare, but also people are different. Everybody doesn't have the same skin type. They don't have the same environment. They don't have the same genetics. So there will be, I feel like, an increase in demand for like products that are not just only effective, but they're sustainable and also ethical.
Ethical, yes, that is definitely something that I feel like people are starting to consider more when they're buying these products because obviously it's hard to test them without the animals involved, but like it is important. It's starting to become something I think everyone's interested in. Like we don't want to, to hurt another animal or another creature. So that's super interesting. So what you keep mentioning cancer research like here and there, and
Mhm.
I just want to know like what motivated you to focus on cancer research specifically? Is there a personal connection that has driven your interest in the field?
Yeah, so it's like an accumulation of a couple things. So one, my mother actually got diagnosed with colon cancer. Luckily, they caught it early and they resected it, the portion of her bowel. And actually, a couple weeks ago, she just passed her 5-year checkup, which is great.
Congratulations.
Yeah,
I'm so sorry that happened. I've been hearing a lot about colon cancer rates going up. We don't know why. Wait, so why do you think that why do you think colon cancer rates are increasing? Because they're increasing at like a very, very high rate. I mean, higher than we've ever seen any other cancer emerge.
I mean, yeah, it's like being found in younger and younger demographic, like age
Yeah.
ranges now. Um, why is a good question. I really think, if I'll be honest, I think it's an accumulation of environment and also stress. Like, America is an amazing place, but sometimes I think just work-life balance can be very difficult. And when you're stressed out, you're not your most healthiest. You're not thinking about um, just a lot of different factors that affect your health. Like stress
Yeah.
really affects our health. And
Mhm.
then depending on, people's lifestyle, I'm not going to say it's one thing or the other. I do just think that the environment is getting tough.
Yeah, I mean also the things that are the replacements in our food, like the yeah, for things that are a little bit cheaper. And people don't realize, like, especially if English is not your first language, like my mom, for example, how is she going to look at like an ingredient list this long
Mhm.
and know what, I mean, not even like English being your first language. If you're not familiar with the science, like how would you know that this is not good for your body? Like, how would you know benzene is not good for your body?
Yeah. How would you know something is a mutagen or a carcinogen or something like that if you
Exactly.
don't have the proper understanding? And then also, like, if these big companies don't have to necessarily label saying, hey, this is this. Now, I'm pretty sure FDA has, stuff, but not everything is FDA approved, but we still can get it. I do really think it is a mix of different factors of the environment. It could be different factors of lifestyle. But I really hope that we're able to figure it out because it is scary. And colon cancer, luckily, if you do catch it early, it's you have high survival chances and whatnot. But if not caught early, and not everybody is always, checking
Getting screening,
themselves.
yeah. So did they? So, I'm sorry if this is a personal
No, it's no problem.
topic, but did you guys just did the doctors notice it, or did you go get a checkup and to specifically screen for it?
So my mom, luckily with her, she does have a couple of other personal situations with her, and she doesn't mind me talking about it because she knows that that's my inspiration.
Mhm.
So she's very adamant about letting her doctors know, hey, something don't feel right. But not everyone's like that. So she was able to let her doctor know, hey, her stomach was like feeling very discomforting or whatnot, and they did a check and they found a polyp, a cancerous polyp.
Mhm.
And when she told me that, that was life changing, of course. But when I did research, because that shocked my world, I started doing research, like looking up the colon cancer and just cancer rates and stuff. And I realized, oh, this is not unique to me. This is something shared in almost everyone's lives and
Mhm.
communities. It's not just the individual, it's their families, it's their friends, and it's their community. And I was like, oh, I want to do something about this because I would
Mhm.
hate for someone else to feel the way I'm feeling. But it's kind of, I don't want to say it's nice to know other people are feeling this, but I feel like knowing that this is an issue that so many people go through, it kind of was like, hey, let's actually try to do something about it. Like, yeah, this
That's
sucks.
beautiful.
Yeah,
You have to be smart, like you to do something like I mean, obviously you can't just do something about it, but that's amazing that that's something that you're gonna go into. Like I could see you making a big change with that.
yeah, I really would love to be a part of the team that can help create cures or even just therapy. Some because cancers, there's over 200 different types of cancers. It's not a like one pill or one cure will treat everything. And some can be very aggressive, some are very rare. And what I've learned through doing research is that sometimes the funding isn't there to focus on these different types of cancer. So there are people and demographics that are left out. One of the things that also kind of veered me towards this direction is I worked at a pharmacy and people would always complain about the side effects of a medication. I was like, dang, why are doctors prescribing medications that are really making the patient sick? And my pharmacist told me it's like they kind of do like a risk analysis. It's like whatever's
Like a
does
pros and cons. Like
too
if
much.
if it's worth like curing the person, maybe giving him some side effects, then it's worth it. Yeah.
Yeah, but I was like, I don't
What?
I don't want that. Like there has
Yeah.
to be we can do more. We can do better.
Yeah.
And so lastly, the thing that really sealed the deal, because it was like three things. It was my mom getting cancer, it was working at the pharmacy, and then my first internship ever, I was at Fisk at Dr. Dane Beezer's lab. It was a polymer chemistry internship. So it was really difficult for my first internship ever. And I remember Dr. Beezer, we're doing a lab meeting, and he was kind of wanting to like hype us up because we were kind of like, I think we're just low energy, we're young lab, students.
Yeah.
And he was letting us know that we were with the polymer chemistry internship, we were working on the backbone of a direct acting antiviral. So we were trying to develop a targeted therapy. And he let us know, like, hey, this could, although this is the very early stage of this project, this could possibly be a cure for like a cancer type or whatnot that could eliminate off-target effects.
Mhm.
So I was like, man, I like the way he's thinking. So
Wait, so he's a PhD or an MD or both or
he's a PhD at Fisk University. I believe he's a chemistry professor over there. Yeah.
that's amazing. Well, he can be
Yeah.
your mentor.
Yeah. Well, he's one of my mentors. Well, he was one of my mentors. He was the first one to really put me on to understanding, yeah, like therapeutic just learning about therapies and how there's different types and how um, we need some innovation in that department. So that kind of allowed me to realize, hey, this is a wonderful way for me to give back to my community,
Yeah.
to help, and also to be part of innovation. I'm all about forward thinking, about making things better. So why not do that?
That's amazing. And that's the type of people that we need in healthcare. So speaking of that, from your perspective, you mentioned health equity. So what do you think are the biggest barriers to achieving health equity and specifically in Nashville?
Hmm. Okay. I really feel like the biggest thing in health equity or biggest barriers is really access to healthcare. I
Yeah.
mean, like we don't live in a society or a country that has free healthcare. I mean, there are programs and whatnot, but that's not accessible for everyone, and it can be very difficult. And let's say someone is an immigrant, there's a language barrier, there's financial constraints, and just an overall lack of understanding.
And a lot of people don't talk about this, but also cultural constraints, because some I know like for at least in our culture, sometimes people are like, oh well, God like might have wanted this for me, or just like not having the uh like cultural support to go to the doctor, like because
Like stigmas.
Stigmas, exactly. Like, why go to the doctor when, I knew this person, they didn't go to the doctor and they're doing fine. Just not having like people in our communities that know a lot about healthcare and the importance of getting checkups or cancer screenings. Like, I didn't really know about cancer screenings until I went into medicine. I didn't know that was a thing. I didn't know people were getting cancer screenings.
Same. Yeah, I
And
completely understand.
our parents don't tell us like, hey, get it for women at least like getting a pap smear, how important getting a pap smear is. So yeah, like it's crazy that it's not just like on like a institutional level, but also like in like it can affect us on a micro level as well, because some of our parents they think, oh, we can do natural remedies or home remedies
Yeah.
and not have to go to the doctor. So yeah, that's something that I feel like you said, we need representation in that aspect to be able to explain to people like, no, like you need a doctor. You need to get on this tr specific like tested treatment because there's research that goes behind a lot of the treatments that we create. It's not just like a vibe of, oh, I think this will work. No, it
Yeah.
literal like statistics that show. So, wait, looking ahead, how do you hope to bridge the gap between the scientific and community and the underserved populations?
Okay.
Specific, like this is like personal. Like I want to know what you are wanting to do with that, or like how you are planning to help in that way.
So for me, in on my end, how I would like to help bridge the gap with both working in research, like I've mentioned, and also policy. I would like to actually get into policy one day.
Yes,
Health
I see
policy.
you do that. I see you do that 100%. Like sitting in those big rooms and being like, no, we need to change this and this.
Yeah.
Yeah, I see that.
And one thing about me, it's an interesting skill. I'm really good at pointing out what is not working or
Yes,
like just seeing it long term, like, hey, this is actually not going to work. And I'll try to come up with a solution. I'm not just going to, crap on someone's idea. But I think what's really important is that we develop targeted therapies to address the specific needs of underserved communities. Including diversification of clinical trials, having that representation within the healthcare field so that patients can feel comfortable to, reach out to doctors and whatnot. Um, and also creating ways so that these therapies or medicine is accessible. Like we really do need to make medicine accessible and affordable. Like, okay, we have a capitalist healthcare system, all right, but we got to help everyone. We can't just, if you
yeah.
have a certain amount of funds, then you're able to have the opportunity to get some type of therapy that would be beneficial for, all types of people.
Hmm.
Another thing is that currently, what I would like to do, what I'm doing right now, I am part of a organization called the Black in Cancer Mentorship Program. I just got accepted, so I'm going to be.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I'm so what that'll do is help me work with a organization that does want to do community outreach, want to do more healthcare policy and healthcare policy that will be beneficial to the marginalized communities that are being neglected and affected by these policies. And alongside just again having that representation within the research, within the statistics and whatnot, so that everyone we're inclusive.
Yeah.
That's the goal. So I really would like to work in healthcare policy down the road as I, get my credentials and I see how things work. And what I would like to do, following my PhD, when, God willing, when I get that, I would like to actually work in industry. And then I actually do want to have my own biotech or biofarm company, so that I can actually be running different research, clinical trials that I feel like are needed that may not be represented in the field.
And I see you 100% like opening up your own company. I mean, you already have on a small scale, but I see it expanding, especially like as somebody who, first of all, has been affected by this personally from like your family, and then growing up as an immigrant, first gen, African American, all of that combined is exactly what we need in healthcare. Like, and I definitely see you being able to do that and do an amazing job.
I appreciate that, Marina. That's the goal.
So now we're just going to take any questions. But before we do, last question was, what advice would you give to other first generation students or aspiring researchers who want to combine their personal passions with impactful academic and scientific work?
I'm actually very excited to answer this. So my biggest advice is to seek out mentors who share your values and your interests. And if you're fortunate, they resemble you, they look like you. Luckily for me, I have this amazing mentor. She's actually my cancer mentor, I would say. She was the one who put me onto the game. Her name is Dr. Heather Beasley, and she's a postdoc at Vanderbilt. But yeah, she's a Black woman who kind of I understand her development to becoming the scientist that she is now. And she's able to see herself in me and really help guide me. So I would really say get mentors and get a mentor that looks like you. But honestly, all the mentors help diversify your mentor games. And I would also say that don't be afraid to ask questions. I know that's so basic, but like, don't be afraid to ask questions. Don't be afraid to take risks. And I would definitely recommend pushing yourself a bit. Like, do
Yeah.
yeah, conferences. Do a conference. Take an internship. Apply for that fellowship. Apply for that job. Whatnot. You just never know where you're gonna go. And I would also recommend. I think number one is really just integrating your values with your work. Make your personal passions mixed in with the sciences or whatever you're interested in.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And
I think when you said push yourself, I think that's super important because I think a lot of us, like especially in STEM, we doubt ourselves and our abilities and our
yes,
like we can always compare ourselves. It's so easy to compare yourself in this field. Like there's always going to be someone that's doing something better than you, or and you're going to be like, well, I'm not there yet, so I shouldn't go to this conference, or I'm not there yet, I shouldn't reach out to this doctor because I'm just this. And it's just always going to be like that. So it's super important to just bet on yourself and,
yeah,
trust your abilities, like you're where you are because of your hard work. And, a lot of people don't also talk about networking and how important it is and like mentorship.
yeah,
So I think you said it exactly like how it should be said. Like you need a mentor who had a similar like experience as you, background as you, so you could also feel like, oh, if they did it, I could do it.
absolutely. It
What's, yeah.
makes it attainable. I feel like it's like oh, this can be real. It's not some far-fetched or some, oh my God, is this ever going to happen? No, it makes it real. I mean, of course, it takes time, and we're always. I feel like all scientists are always trying to build up their skill set and whatnot. But I would just also let people know that you need to be patient with yourself. This is it's not a linear journey, but if you're persistent and you advocate for yourself, you won't even know where you'll end up. Like, and in that in a good way. And also letting your personality shine. I feel like when we think scientists, we think like very introverted, we think very like I don't know, to themselves, or that they're very like super type A. No, I feel like you're allowed to have a personality. You're allowed to shine.
I mean,
You're
that's the new culture though. Like back then it wasn't always like I think the more like extroverted you were or attractive or you had other things on the side, people would doubt your abilities. But now thankfully with like social media and stuff, more scientists coming into the field and showing their faces and their personalities, now it's becoming more normalized to accept that yeah, people have lives that's outside of this too.
yeah.
And they're just as
Always
smart.
science.
Yeah, and they're just as smart and capable and capable. So if you guys have any questions, you can start putting them in the comments below. I see that your sister's here. She's
Yeah.
sweet. I got to meet your sister in person. I didn't get to meet you, but I met her. She was so awesome. She said, "Oh, Hawaii said good job. I love it. Thank
Thank
you."
you. Yeah, thanks, sis. She's real supportive.
Okay, so Danny asks, what's your top way to find a mentor?
Okay.
I think he's asking like, how do I find a mentor?
So don't be surprised when nowadays you can even find mentors online. Like my Dr. Heather Beasley, my mentor who's at Vanderbilt, I actually met her on Instagram. So don't be surprised if there might be a lucrative way, but I would honestly say um, I found the best way to find mentors through like being in an like being at my school, or just communicating with people who have interests similar to mine, or they're like maybe they're in a PhD program or they're in a program, and I just let them know, hey, here are my interests, and they might be able to help me out. Really, I feel like you have to put yourself out there and just letting people know that what your interests are, what you're passionate about, because we're like for me, I'm very interested in cancer research, but I don't know where that exactly looks like. But if I'm able to talk to my molecular genetics professor and ask her, hey, I'm interested in this, is there any way I could join your lab? Make yourself also available for possible mentors, because they do love the help. They love people who are willing to show up, be reliable. But I think the best way, I feel like, is in like an institution, like your school, for example, and just letting people know what you're interested in, and then following that trail.
So all in all, what you're saying is, first of all, go outside, like put yourself out there, go
Yeah.
to don't just leave the classroom, like ask your professor, if there's any opportunities that they can help you or what their experiences is like. And then you also mentioned using social media. That's super, I mean, that's how we met. We met on
Yeah,
LinkedIn.
LinkedIn, yeah, which is a great way. Like that's like the professional social media,
Mhm.
which is a great way also to meet other mentors, and even just I find LinkedIn very helpful to find out what different programs are going on, different like mentorship programs and stuff. You'll be very surprised. So I'll definitely say,
Conferences,
yep,
Zoom calls,
yeah.
just scholarships, like everything is on LinkedIn these
Yeah,
days.
everything is on LinkedIn, and you can one thing I would recommend is just anything that you're interested in. Like, let's say you're interested in the biotech field, you're interested in pharmaceutical research. Look that stuff up on LinkedIn, and then find the different forums, groups, and stuff like that, and just start following or connecting with people
Yeah.
you find are interesting. I think that's a great way if you're not in a space where you can go to an institution or you can go to some professors or scientists, stuff like that.
So he's asking, how do you like cold reach someone you don't know on LinkedIn?
Now, it can be hard. Trust me, I've definitely been ignored.
I remember the first time you messaged me was like I remember it like made me so happy because I did the same thing, but you were asking me about my master's and you didn't know who I was at all. Like you just said, "Hey, like I'm Faben. I need like advice on this. Kid, like this is my number." Like you and like here we are. So
Yeah. I feel like don't don't be discouraged if they don't respond back.
yeah.
Um, still put yourself out there, like whether you send them a message, whether you retrieve their email and then send them an email. I've done that so many times where I've like found someone's email and I'll attach my resume or my CV, give them a description about me, tell them why I'm interested to connect with them, and what's interesting about their work or what they do. So it can be difficult, but don't just think it's just one person. You have like feel free to reach out to as many people as you
Ever. Yeah.
want. I've had many ignored emails and ignored LinkedIn messages than I did having, people actually reach out to me and, wanting me to work. So just don't give up. You just got to move around.
So I this question is what is how do you plan to have a social life outside of this?
Oh, I'm having a social life.
That's important.
Yeah, it's really important. Well, the thing is, my social life, I have a great support group. I have a great friends, and I have friends that respect what I'm trying to do, and they would like you're allowed to have a life, of course, but make sure that the people you're surrounding yourself around are building you up. And it may not necessarily be like, oh, they're building up your resume, but they're building up your character, your skill, your morals, your values,
Yeah,
stuff like that.
exactly. Like they're people that you want to be like. I always tell this to my friends and family, like the people you are the five people you surround yourself with. So you have to
Yep,
be very careful with who you surround yourself with, and more preferably to surround yourself with people that you want to be like or you
absolutely.
aspire to be like. And I mean, obviously, like having a connection with them is most important, but also like make sure your friends have goals and they're inspiring to be around, not
Yeah.
bringing you down.
Yeah, you want to be around people that you respect and who respect you too. And it'll just breed just amazing connections and just it'll be able to transfer over a long period of time. So yeah, but yeah, you still deserve a life. And also what I like to do is just making a little time for the things that are important to me. So for me, I do like girl time with my girls and my friends. I do like family time, spending time at my house, in my home. I do like also time, praying and a lot of these other things. And just make sure that you have some kind of outlet to like decompress
Yeah,
and
you.
hopefully a healthy one.
I feel like the more like outlets that you have, I mean, obviously not too much, the more you can focus on your work because you have something to look forward to. You
Absolutely.
have something that's like relieving that stress. Well, amazing. Thank you so much. That brings us to the end of today's episode of Nashville Network Alliance, from the future of skin and cancer research to the empowering stories of those carving their own paths. There's so much to learn and take away. I hope you all enjoyed our conversation and were inspired by the incredible journey of Faven Zeleke. I'm going to actually put your skincare brand in the link of the podcast once I upload it. And yeah, thanks for tuning in, and we can't wait to see you on the next episode.
Yay. Nice to meet everyone. Have a lovely day. Thanks for having me, Marina.
Thank you, Faven. I hope you have a great day. Bye bye.
Bye.